Hi, welcome back to Creative Dirt Podcast. I'm your host, Honor Tarantigue, and this is a podcast all about cultivating creativity in everyday life. Today's episode is an interesting one, and I'm super jazzed about it because we're talking about self-care in the form of spa, hygiene, personal care, all that kind of stuff. So this one's going to be really fun. We're going to talk about body care, skin care, fragrance, and we have some really cool guests who are going to talk to us about self-care through literally like washing and rub-a-dub-dub, taking a bath kind of stuff. So if you're majorly online, like many people are, you know that for a lot of people, since the pandemic, skincare has been literally huge. It's a booming industry. Actually, the skincare industry is expected to grow by 52% by the year 2030. So it's only going to get even larger. Ultimately, it's going to be valued at $167 billion. Oh yeah, there's a huge space for skincare, body care, all that kind of stuff. At the same time, if you're a person in the world, you are probably getting a lot of content online about the next thing you should buy and the next lotion you should get and the hottest, trendiest, this thing and that thing. And it can get really exhausting having to keep up with all these trends and buying all this stuff to try to stay cool and relevant. This is really random, but I had a dream last night actually that we lived in a world where a bunch of random like minions and people would create problems for people so that they would have to buy more things. And I woke up and I was like, actually, that's real life. So don't let marketers and, companies and people out there tell you that you have problems with stuff and you need to keep buying, buying, buying. It's not about that. Today, we're going to be really exploring what it looks like to authentically invest in your personal wellness profile. What does that look like? What is your personal scent? What is your personal body care routine? And can you do that in a way that is driven by you and not driven by, all these people telling you what you need to be doing? Because that's lame. There's definitely a way to engage in self-care that is honoring to your body and also honoring to your wallet as well. And I think the body care industry really sort of tells us that people who are wealthy deserve better, air quotes, better self-care than people who are not wealthy. And that's stupid. It does make people of all walks of life want to continue to sort of access a little bit of that luxury. And the easiest way to do that is through, buying a little moisturizer or buying a little something like that. You might be familiar with the lipstick effect in economics, and that is basically when people choose to spend money on little luxuries during times when there's economic downturns, because buying a tube of lipstick is easier than buying a luxury vacation to the Bahamas, especially when times are tough. So that's definitely part of the reason why makeup and self-care and skincare and all that kind of stuff does so well all the time, because it's such accessible luxury. But there comes a time where it really does get out of hand and people are just like bombarding you with get this luxury stuff all the time. So today we're going to talk to two guests who are going to encourage us to engage in the consumption of personal care goods in a way that is authentic and slow and luxurious and driven by us rather than driven by companies. Which, hey, if you want to go for the trends and all that stuff out there, more power to you. But if you're considering taking a little bit slower, taking it back, really discovering, hey, do I need 17,000 steps in my skincare routine? I don't know, maybe not. We're going to be exploring some of that today. So first, we're going to talk to Kat Ross, who is the owner of Clover Bloom. And we are going to explore with her what it looks like to intentionally pick out body care products, how to create DIY body scrubs and that kind of stuff, and also how to mindfully really care for your body when you are using said products. And then in part two, we're going to be talking to Renee, who is the owner of the Fragrance Lab Nashville, which is such a cool place. I'm super excited about what she's doing. So don't forget to listen to part two as well. All right, well, without further ado, let's talk to Kat.
tell me a little bit about what you create? What is Clover Bloom?
Yes. So Clover Bloom is a bit of a side hustle. It started with just making bath salts. And of course, as soon as I started doing that, I just had a lot of ideas of other products and things that I wanted to create. So started with bath and self-care, body care, and then recently I expanded into a lot of lip balms and lip oil and body oil, just facial masks, just all those little self-care ritual products with a lot of clean, natural ingredients.
It just sounds like fun. You said that you started with bath salts. So, how did you sort of
Mhm.
develop this interest? Was it just you're doing this at home and then now you're a business? How did this happen?
Yeah, so everything started organically. As life goes, you never know what's going to happen, right? Spontaneous moments. So I've always enjoyed making and creating things, especially for gifts. And a couple years ago, a friend of mine gave me some bath salts and they were packaged really cutely, and she had made them to sell on Instagram for extra money for Christmas gifts. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And it just sparked something in me that reminded me, oh, throughout my life I've loved creating, I don't know, sugar scrubs or different things as gifts for people. And so I thought, well, what would it be like if I did this? And this is kind of random, but my husband's family, they're beekeepers. And every year they put on this big honey festival that has a craft show. And I thought, I've never been to this festival or this craft show, but I want to have a booth there. So it had about, I don't know, maybe 10 months to prepare. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a booth. Am I making products? No. What am I doing? But I'm going to do it. And so it all started with the bath salts for that. And then I branched out and kind of created a bunch of other stuff for the Honey Festival and did it the hardest I've ever worked in my life for probably the least amount of money. Uh, but it felt so amazing because being at the booth and having people smelling all my stuff and complimenting it or buying it for Christmas gifts and things like that. It felt so fulfilling to be creating something in my home that I was just doing on the side outside of my day job and people really enjoying it and liking it. And so I've done that for 2 years. Working for the Honey Festival and preparing for that without really putting anything out there on social media, or it's kind of been this like secret little project that um, I didn't bring a lot of people into it at first because sometimes you want to protect things a little bit,
Right.
right? And just develop and refine. And so that's kind of where I've been the last couple of years is product development because I've been having to do a lot of
Mhm.
research and because I'm not a chemist. I'm not a cosmetic chemist. And the more you get into things, it's not so much recipes as it is formulas and breaking things down where you can create it over and over again in the product development phase. And so anyways, that's been my journey the last couple of years. And then a few weeks ago, something kind of serendipitous happened. So I had given a lip balm that I made to my hairstylist, who's so sweet. And she was chatting with a client of hers who's also a small business owner. And the client runs like a gift box making company here in Birmingham, and it features Alabama bakers. And she was asking my hairstylist, hey, do you know anyone locally who makes lip balms? My supplier has moved out of state, so it's no longer Alabama made. I'm looking for someone. And my hairstylist said, I actually do know someone because I had given her some lip balm as a gift, and which was so sweet of her to think of me. So she connected this girl to me. And after that happened, I was like, well, I guess I need to be able to legally
Mhm.
sell stuff. So,
Yeah.
so let me register this. let me turn this kind of secret side hobby into something a little
Little
bit
less
more
secret.
official. Right. Yes, a little less secret.
That's
Oh,
amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on being an official
yeah.
business. Super
Thank
exciting.
you.
It sounds like
Thank
very
you.
challenging, but I know you're going to be great at it. You've been fantastic at it already. I've had the privilege of trying several of your products, and I'm literally obsessed. I was telling you, I love the Paris Nights body oil because body oils, I don't know, I feel like it does something more than a lotion, and it helps to hydrate you. And I also love that you talk about gifts and personal care items as gifts, and that's how you first got into this sort of is being a
Yes.
gifter, and you are able to spread the word about your products as giving gifts. That's so cool how just this is like a great gift space. I don't know. Oh, that's cool.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've always loved gift giving. And what better than to combine something for self care or wellness, taking care of yourself, giving someone else a gift that helps them do that, just relax a little bit and
Oh,
treat themselves. Because, life can be stressful. And just, yeah, rubbing on a body oil is, you know, kind of pampering and luxurious.
tell me a little bit about, you mentioned research that you had to do for a lot of these products. What is that? How have you engaged with all this research? It sounds like very challenging.
Oh, well, research is
Okay.
ongoing. It's it's ever evolving, but yeah, so when I first started out, I think in this particular space, when you're educating yourself, there's a lot of people out there who are sharing content about, oh, here's how to make bath salts yourself or lip balms. And once you get into things a little bit more, dive in, you start to realize quickly who really is a novice and then who really is more leaning on expertise of formulating. And kind of one quick way to tell that is someone breaking it down by like cups or tablespoons or things like that versus
Yeah.
grams. Like this is how many grams of this you need. And so that was like a kind of a quick learning thing for me, was realizing what is safe, especially if you're working with, let's say, essential oils, which they're really popular these days, but you have to be really careful working with them because they can irritate your skin if you don't properly use them. And so, um, part of the research is figuring out what ingredients to use, what percentages to use them at. And really how to put together something that you can create over and over again if you want to sell something. Now, if you're just doing it for fun and enjoyment, which I highly recommend, you can be a little bit more simplistic about it, right? And you don't have to worry about having to recreate things over and over and be precise. You can just kind of play around and experiment. And so that's really where I started, was, oh, like what can I create? What can I combine? What are these ingredients, and researching what do they do and how do they work together, and looking at product labels, because the FDA requires that if you sell a product, you have to list all the ingredients in it. And so, you can kind of study product labels and see what are they using in there? Okay, what does this ingredient do? And there's a lot of great resources out there. There's a couple bloggers that I found that had really good content. There's one called Humble Bee and Me. She's out of Canada, and she does a lot of like advanced kind of formulating. And then there's another girl out of the UK called Whole Elise, and both of them have some great stuff. So if anyone's ever interested in trying that out themselves, they both have really great content. But there's a ton of people out there who are doing a lot of great things. So it's just curiosity, I feel like, is such a big part of it too, is just being curious about things and having ideas and wanting to experiment and then figuring out how do I execute them, and trying and failing. That's a big part of the research, honestly, is doing a bunch of
Yeah.
test batches. Let me try something and see how it works, and write down what worked well and what didn't, you
Have you ever
know.
blown anything up in your kitchen?
Not yet, not yet. I haven't had any fires or explosions or anything like that, thankfully, but I have had some things that turned out not so great. Actually, I made something for your sister, honor sister
Mhm.
Courtney, who's like my best friend and soul sister. I was making some vegan lip balm for her, and one of the batches just turned out horribly grainy.
And you can market it as an exfoliating lip balm, and you'd be totally fine. Like a lip scrub, like a lip scrub in a tube. There you go.
That's so kind. That's so kind. But yeah, things like that where,
Mhm.
experimenting is a part of the research and the process. And that's the
Yeah.
fun part, right? Is just trying things and not being too
Oh,
critical of
that's
it,
so important.
So,
That sounds like so much fun.
yeah.
So it seems like too, you had mentioned when we're looking at creators online and we're like follow them or copy what they're doing, we want to see them using metric system and not the old cups and
Yeah.
gram system or old cups and tablespoon system. Is grams
Right.
metric system? Is that right? Or is it grams?
I think so. I think it's what the rest of the world uses. Well, we use more of
We use the
ounces.
ounces. Yes.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's like by
Mhm.
weight versus volume. So I think like cups and things like that are volume versus weight. So it's like less
Oh
precise
yes, because you have
for
like different weights of an oil versus a salt versus a okay.
yes, exactly, exactly. So if it's by the gram, you can for sure know
Mhm.
that it's the same. But again, if you're doing it more DIY, then no biggie. Just get out that tablespoon or that cup and make your bath salts.
Making bath salts. If we have anybody at home who's interested in getting into sort of the DIY body care space, what would you recommend? How would you recommend them starting? And how did you start?
That's a great question. I would say, yeah, start small. If let's say there's a product you really enjoy, yeah, look at that ingredient list, see what's in there. A lot of bath salts, for example, are actually pretty simple. They'll use like an Epsom salt or a Dead Sea salt, something like that. Maybe some florals. They might have some essential oils. If they have essential oils, be sure to put like a carrier oil in there for skin safety. Or just Google. Google is your friend here. YouTube. There's so many people who've created great stuff. But honestly, it's super easy to get started. Everything you need honestly you could find on Amazon, or there's so many good supplier sites like Brambleberry or Simply Ingredients or Wholesale Supplies Plus. There's a ton of resources out there, but don't get overwhelmed. Just keep it simple and play around with it. Like something really easy would be combining just like fragrance-free Epsom salts. You can get those at Target. Um, with, let's say, like oats. You could food process some oats, make like a powder, put it with the Epsom salts, and then you have like a colloidal oatmeal
Oh,
bath. Yeah, there's so many easy things like that. Or, you could put like organic coconut milk powder with Epsom salts for like a really creamy, luxurious bath. There's so many simple things you can do. Or I like to make these bath teas where you put florals just in like a sachet, and then you don't have like all the mess because you can just drop it in your tub, and you don't have to do all the cleanup. So, a big fan of that. But there's literally endless possibilities of things you can create pretty easily and inexpensively. Um, Another type of thing that I love is just like homemade facial masks. So, let's say you just have some honey, you don't even have to add anything to it. Just spread that honey over your face and make it a little drippy. Leave it on for 10 to 15 minutes, rinse it off, and your skin is glowing and radiant. There's literally so many things you can do at home that aren't costly that will just make you feel really special and cared
I
for.
love this. I'm gonna try the honey one. I think I did a matcha mask because I drink matcha
Ooh,
every day. So matcha powder in the morning, I
yes.
put it on my face, and it didn't go great because I think I was like I was kind of green. I'll say that. I was kind of green.
I love matcha though. And I love your tea recipes. Honor has
Oh,
great tea recipes. When I had a TikTok, I used to love to watch your videos.
TikTok, because TikTok is very addicting.
Yeah, I had to get off there for a second because I was like, I could just watch videos all day.
I kind of do that. But I also like what you said about remaking things that you like that you see out there. I did this with fur oil, but I was like, oh, I really wanted to try the fur oil, but it's very expensive. And I was like, I actually looked at the
Yes.
ingredients and I was thinking, wait, I've got a lot of these things already. Like this is just jojoba oil and like lavender and a cup and like other things. And I pulled a cat
Yes.
and I just, you know, remade it. And it wasn't exactly the same, but it worked for me and it was great. So
That's amazing. I
But I
love
love-
that. It's such a great trick because you see that a lot of these brands, it's all marketing, honestly. Some of them, you know, like they're like, it's $45 or $50 for this. And you probably recreated it for much cheaper. And I'm sure it was great.
Well,
you know?
I'm glad you brought that up because speaking of marketing, when we're talking about the body care space, obviously, if you go online, like skincare, makeup, this industry, especially for young people, is very huge right now. So,
Oh,
do you
for
have any
sure.
thoughts about how we can engage with self-care and body care in a way that's driven by ourselves rather than driven by trends or driven by marketers and what our emails are telling us to do?
I love that question, Honor. That's really good because I do think there's a lot of pressure these days to go after the latest skincare trend or device. And I think honestly, keeping it simple can be good sometimes because there'll be these skincare routines that are 11 steps and oh, you need all these products. But a lot of us really don't know how to use them or when to use them and what steps to use them in. And then it can become overwhelming, right? Where you don't do anything. And I think just bringing it back to the basics of like, let's just say for skincare for your face, like cleansing, right? That's important and lots of great options out there for that. But you don't have to buy the $200, gold plated this or that. But, things like serums or things like that, that maybe are a little bit more specialty. Like if you have a specific concern, let's say like eczema or rosacea or acne or wrinkles, some of those like more targeted products are good to invest a little bit in because they probably do have actives in there that you couldn't recreate yourself as well. So I think just and also looking at this area of like body care and skincare and self-care holistically, right? So there's other ways instead of just buying products to like eating well and drinking and stress reduction. Lots of water. Water is so essential. And then sleep, meditating, yoga, exercise, all those things are really good for you and your body and your wellness and also your appearance, and we all go through phases where we have time to really invest in that and other times where things are so busy that's really on the back burner. But I think it is all about like what works for you and your lifestyle and not having that fear of missing out on the latest product. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Sephora. I love trying out new products and new things like that. But you don't have to chase like the newest thing every time. Like there are a lot of similarities between products too, like we were talking about with marketing, where they may change an ingredient or two, but they're kind of doing the same thing. And I think shopping according to your values too, or creating your own rituals or practices or buying habits around those. So if you're about the natural stuff, supporting natural brands or whatever, fair trade. Yeah. So the great thing is there are a lot of options out there now, but I know it can be kind of
Mhm.
overwhelming to wade through. What do I do?
Yes.
Um, but I think it's important just to do the
Mhm.
basics,
I
honestly.
love that you brought up simplicity. I think that simplicity is underrated because it's simple. Funny story, I literally have I've been having dry skin. So I've been trying to work on my dry skin, and I went to
Yeah.
Ulta or like last month trying to get out some products, and I before that I've been to some other stores trying to get some products, and I was like, I this none of this is helping me. So yesterday
Right.
I went to a local shop, skincare store shop that is not a chain. It's here, and it's in like one other city. And I walked in and I had a conversation with someone at the front, and they pointed me out to like one or two products. I picked one, and this one thing has already solved all my problems. And so it's like sometimes
I love
it
it.
doesn't have to be 12 or 11 steps. It can be one. And even just being in places like shopping locally, obviously, is very important because then you can have
Mhm.
conversations with people and they can understand a little bit more about your values or your needs and those specific things. And so I really think that having sort of those smaller experiences are going to be way more helpful to what your goals are, what you're trying to get out of it, rather than be like, okay, like I'm gonna look it up online and see what the next big thing is. Like sometimes you just need to have like a human conversation.
I love that. That is so, so true and so
Mhm.
personalized. Yeah, because online, it's really mass marketed. That's so cool that you could go in and talk to someone and you've already experienced a breakthrough because dry skin is no
It's so
fun. I
cool.
mean,
Not
yeah.
every area and city has access to local skincare shops or local body care shops or local things like that. But yeah, even just finding a brand such as Clover Bloom that you align with, that you really love,
Aw.
you can kind of start engaging with that a little bit more, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the hottest new brand on the social media. So yes.
Yes,
Okay,
agreed.
so Kat, do you have any ideas about getting more out of your self care, body care experience? Is there a way to like squeeze more enjoyment out of it?
Mm, I think so. I think there's always ways to get more out of your experience. So let's just use a bath as an example, right? So, yeah, you could just pour bath salts in the tub and hop on in there and that be all. Or you could put on a spa playlist on Spotify. You could light a candle. You could dim the lights or turn off the lights and just have candles going. You could have a glass of wine or a cup of
Cherry juice.
tea. Yes, whatever your special drink of choice is, your music of choice. There's just ways to fancy it up, right? And make it a little bit more enjoyable and relaxing. And I think, too, one thing that makes it enjoyable and relaxing is if it's just kind of becomes a ritual or a practice that you do. Let's say maybe once a week or once a month or every night, whatever that looks like. For me, this is kind of funky or funny, but I have always taken foot baths. Probably for like the past 15 years. I do that pretty much every night. Yeah, it's just a nice, because I mean, honestly, it doesn't have to be fancy. You could just like run hot water over your feet and it's just relaxed. Like whatever that little act is. It could be putting on a lip mask or double cleansing your face or putting on a hair mask or um, I don't know, doing just like thinking more holistically about that self care. There's a lot of apps where you can record like your emotions, how you're feeling that day, or journaling, or just listening to a song, like taking a few minutes just of quiet. There's so many ways to like engage with taking care of yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, however that looks for you. I think there's just a lot of value in that. And sometimes when you do it regularly, you can anticipate it, which adds to the enjoyment, right? You're just looking forward to that 5 minutes of doing whatever that task is that is your version of taking care of your body.
Having a tough day today, but at least I'm getting a foot bath at 7.
Yes, right. Yes.
I'm obsessed with the idea of making it a production. So getting your bougie on, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can just add a lot of like little small things, and then it becomes your moment. And I feel like sometimes when I do think about when I engage with self-care, it can be kind of few and far between, like the actual times when I'm doing it. Like, okay, this is my event of self-care, and I'm doing all the things at once. So I love that. And last but not least, Kat, what makes you love being a maker in the body care space?
I think for me, I've just always enjoyed that act of taking care of myself, trying new products, putting on a good lip balm. It's just a small, tangible thing you can do to take care of yourself, because sometimes, like I said, life can be so busy that you really don't have the time to stop to do something really complicated. Maybe you don't have the time to do an hour-long workout, but you have the time to, put on a face mask and do some yoga at home or something. Like, it feels very attainable. I think like the body care and self-care, and also universal, right? It feels like something that everyone can appreciate and use. I think a big thing for me as a maker is wanting to create things that people can actually use and incorporate in their life. And it's not wasteful, because sometimes you go into stores and there's just so much stuff and you just get overwhelmed by the amount of things that we create as humans. And you're just like, this ceramic, nothing against ceramics, love it. But like sometimes these little knickknacks are just going to end up in some discount store and then in a landfill somewhere. And it feels really good to make things that people can actually use and want to use. And so I really like that, where it's just simple, usable, universal. And of course, different products appeal to different people, right? Not everyone's into baths. Maybe they're more into body oils or serums or whatever that is. I think that's a fun part of it too, as a maker, is to figure out what people are interested in, because sometimes we can think, oh, everyone has the same interest as me, which is not true at all. People enjoy different experiences and different things. And so it's fun to discover that and to be able to cater to it and make things that people enjoy and like and want to give to others. That's really fun.
That's amazing. I feel like you and all your work with Clover Bloom are helping people already get more out of their self-care experience. And I'm so grateful to hear from you. You had such great insight. Thank you so much, Kat Ross, for being on with us.
Thank you, Honor. This was so much fun.
If you liked this episode, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and or on Spotify. And we will be back soon with another episode about creative self-care. Until next time, I'm rooting for you.